I went to Seattle Pacific and I majored in biology. And this sounds naive a bit now, but I did it because it was hard. And I did it because it was a challenge, and I thought there was value in that. But at the same time as I was studying biology, I loved my classes in literature and in theology, and I thought that a liberal arts education was just the best place for me. So as I worked really hard in my science classes over the course, and I kind of grew into myself as a student, I was just absorbing every class, every professor that would take a little bit of time to talk to me. I was soaking all of that in. And I think that oftentimes we think of college as leading toward a vocation or discovering a vocation. And I think I felt like I had grown so much, but I was just beginning that. And I didn't know where the next step was going to be, actually. And so I had this glimpse of, wow, if I could study biochemistry, if I could study that in graduate school, I don't know if I could do it, but if I could, I think I would love to do that. And I think that the path between that glimpse of what I could potentially do and where I am now, I didn't know how to draw that line, and there wasn't a way for me to draw that line. It was just to take the next step, and that next step involved teaching in a small school in Alaska for a few years. It took putting together my best application for graduate school, and when I got accepted into this NIH biotech training program at Washington State, I just saw the future open up. And the next 10 years of graduate school and a postdoc was extremely difficult. I mean, it challenged me in so many ways, just as I gained more knowledge and became more independent. And at the same time, I didn't feel like I got a PhD, here's the next step. It was working hard to find that next step. And getting a postdoc and spending time there and becoming more independent as a scientist was an important next step, but I didn't know what that next step was going to be. So to be at Fox, to be here now for 6 years, going into my 7th year, I feel like this is my place and my home and the place where I was on this path to end at. But navigating that, I look back and I say, this is where God has led where I couldn't see. And my job in some ways was just to do the best at every step along that way. I think what resonates for me, like many of my colleagues, is this idea of the be known promise. And now I have the chance to speak into the lives of my students and speak from my perspective and tell them my story and listen to their story. Because it's not necessarily about finding the answers or know what happens next. It is in the moment of the process that's important. The relationships at that specific time where God can speak, I think, through us to one another and through you to me. That is what's important. And as we build around those moments and during that time, I think it provides the context and the space for us to grow and develop and change, and then to be open and willing to answer the next step, even if sometimes that next step is kind of unknown and into the dark, as it were.